Well, look, let's move on now because we are only hours away from Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu's address to the UN General Assembly after he rejected a US-led push for a ceasefire with Hezbollah backed in by Australia. Let's go live now to Israel, where we find Joel Burnie from the Australia, Israel and Jewish Affairs Council. Joel, thank you so much for joining us from Israel. Firstly, what is the mood like on the ground? How are people feeling about the prospect of fighting a war now on all fronts?
Thank you for having me, Danica. Well, it's a difficult situation here in Israel. I've been on the ground here for just over 2 weeks. I've just come from the north, from Haifa, which experienced 10 missiles attack this morning. Luckily, the majority of the projectiles were intercepted. We were woken up this morning at 1 a.m. through sirens in Tel Aviv. So you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people in the middle of the night rushing to the bomb shelters with a missile that was fired from Yemen. So we've had 2 out of the 7 front wars fire on Israeli territory in just a matter of hours. So even though the situation is obviously tense, people have to stay very close to their shelters. And the majority of the population in this country is now under the assault of Hezbollah and Lebanon. Look, it's a difficult situation, but the resilience of the Israeli people is such that life goes on as best as it can. Now, nothing is normal in times like this. We just visited them by medical staff, and what we saw there was quite incredible. We saw 3 levels down in what usually is a car park. The full hospital, nearly the full hospital, has been moved down to a shelter, essentially in the car park, which is reinforced and completely protected. But I saw wards of dialysis wards next to maternity wards, next to trauma centres and operating theatres, all in the 3rd level car park of the Rambam Medical Centre, which is really quite incredible. So the response here is as what you'd expect with the precipice of war just being right there. But let's be clear, the Israelis have been facing 8,500 rockets over the past 11.5 months fired from Hezbollah into Israel. And those rockets are now, going as far south as Tel Aviv. So the situation is real.
It certainly seems that way. I want to ask you about this ceasefire. How do you feel about Australia backing in the US-led push for a ceasefire, which has been rejected by Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, it's great that our government, Danica, has woken up to the problems that's faced in northern Israel. It took them 11.5 months to actually give a damn about the 70 to 80,000 residents who have been evacuated since the 8th of October, no less than 24 hours after the massacre that was occurring in the south by Hamas. Hezbollah decides that it's going to open up another front. And now Israel faces wars on 7 different fronts from 7 different locations. So great that my government has woken up to 11.5 months to actually seemingly give a damn. But it seems as though that their concern and the timing of their concern seems to be because Israel's decided to take some action. For the past 11.5 months, it has taken the hits, 8,500 rockets. And if we compare the amount of displaced refugees in the Australian context, bringing up the Israeli population to the scale of Australia, we're talking about a city the size of Hobart or Geelong or Newcastle that has been evacuated with those people unable to return to their homes for the past 11.5 months. I was under the impression for the past 76 years of Israel's existence that the Australian government was a true friend of Israel, and to now actually be showing concerns in the context of a ceasefire because Israel decides that it's going to take military action to defend its citizens and also bring back the displaced refugees back to their homes after such a long period of time, that within itself is concerning. The other problems with the ceasefire are abundantly clear. There is one party that is not listed or named in that ceasefire proposal, and that is Hezbollah. The idea that the Lebanese government, which has been historically and now completely unable to rein in the military might of Hezbollah, who has an arsenal that is larger than most contemporary European armies, Hezbollah does not do what the Lebanese government wants. Hezbollah does what it wants. So the idea that this ceasefire deal is going to usher in some quiet when the people that are actually starting it and lobbing all the rockets indiscriminately killing a number of civilians, that they're not even a party to it, that is somehow going to bring this conflict to an end.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, and it is a frightening situation right now for Israel, a tough road ahead. Joel Burnie, good to have you on. Thank you for joining us all the way from Israel this evening. Really appreciate your time.